The Young and the Restless spoilers. Monday, full, the 22nd of June, 2026. Welcome back to the blog. You guys, it is Tuesday, and my coffee machine is completely broken, which is honestly fitting for the absolute mess we need to talk about today in Genoa City. I am running on zero sleep and staring at my screen, trying to make sense of these storylines. But let's just dive right in because my brain is melting and we have a lot of ground to cover. So let's start with Nikki Newman because she is facing a massive defining moment right now, and I am honestly so stressed about it. We have been watching her clutch her head and wince in pain for weeks now. A few episodes ago, Victoria was practically begging her to go see a doctor. But no, Nikki is just so stubborn. She is always so stubborn when it comes to her own health. She kept saying it was just stress, or her MS acting up, or just the massive, pounding headache that comes from being married to Victor Newman. And honestly, who could blame her for thinking that? Victor gives everyone a headache. He kicked her out of the house. Their interactions have been so sour and defensive lately, and she is just emotionally exhausted. But this time, it is not just Victor. The final diagnosis she gets has absolutely nothing to do with him. It is serious, like really, really serious. And you just know exactly what the writers are doing here. We all know every single time Nikki is at death's door, Victor suddenly remembers he actually loves her. They have this huge falling out. He punishes her. They act like they hate each other. And then, boom, a hospital bed brings them back together. Sigh. I am just so tired of this cycle. But I guess it works for the ratings. I just wish they could have a normal, healthy conversation to fix their marriage without someone needing a heart monitor and an IV drip. But maybe I am being too harsh. Maybe this time the medical crisis will actually force them to deal with their deep-rooted issues instead of just slapping a Band-Aid on it. But probably not. It is just so frustrating to watch Nikki constantly put the Newman family drama ahead of her own body. She self-medicated with alcohol for years. She ignores her MS symptoms, and now she is facing something life-threatening because she didn't want to admit she was in pain. And Victoria is left alone to deal with the panic because Nick is off in Vegas dealing with his own drug-fueled revenge disaster. It is just a mess. But let's move on to something even more exhausting. Jack Abbott. Seriously, what is going through his head right now? What were they thinking when they wrote this plan for him? Patty Williams has him completely cornered. She literally showed him a picture of Diane unconscious in a padded cell. We know Diane is trapped in that weird barred room with Dr. Markham, who is probably Martin Laurent in disguise, which is a whole nother level of crazy. Diane is terrified, armed with a letter opener, being gaslit out of her mind. And what is Jack's brilliant strategy? He thinks he can just charm his way out of this. He actually thinks he can seduce Patty, bring her back to his house, profess his undying love, and somehow get her to spill Diane's location without actually having to sleep with her. He thinks he can recreate that yacht magic just enough to trick her. But Patty is not stupid. Okay, maybe she is deeply unwell and delusional, but she is not stupid when it comes to Jack Abbott. She has been obsessed with him for decades. She knows exactly when she is being played. So Patty warns him to behave. She gives him very, very clear instructions on what she expects from their relationship moving forward. She basically tells him to put out or get out. If he doesn't do exactly what she wants, in the exact physical and emotional way she wants it, he will never see his precious Diane again. And honestly, part of me is just cringing so hard at this whole storyline. It is so uncomfortable to watch Jack try to romance Patty while he is internally panicking about his wife. It feels so gross and toxic. But another part of me is like, well, Jack, you made this bed. Literally, you slept with her on that boat. Now you have to deal with the consequences. The fans on social media are losing their minds over this. Some people think Jack is going to actually go through with it to save Diane because he is just that desperate. Others think Tracy is going to save him at the last minute because she is already playing psychological mind games with Patty in the background. I don't know. I just know Jack is in way over his head, and Patty is holding all the cards right now. And I kind of love villain Patty right now. Okay, that sounded dramatic, but you get what I mean. She is driving the story. Jack is just reacting. He is not a secret agent. He is a CEO who makes terrible romantic choices. The idea that he can out-manipulate Patty Williams, a woman who literally stole someone's face once upon a time, is laughable. It is insulting to Patty's intelligence. She looked at him like he was a complete amateur and shut his little seduction game down immediately. And speaking of people holding all the cards and demanding people play their games, let's talk about Victor Newman, because, of course, we have to talk about Victor. He kicked Nikki out of the house. He is actively punishing his wife, but he still expects absolute, unquestioning loyalty from his children. And the sad part is, he is getting it. Victoria and Nick both seem to be falling right in line. Nick is a total mess right now, practically dying in a rundown gas station while high on fentanyl trying to fight Matt Clark, and Victoria is stressed out of her mind about Nikki's failing health, but they still bow down to Victor. They always do. It is like a sickness in that family. You would think at some point they would just say enough is enough. We are adults. Stop treating us like chess pieces. But no. Victor says jump. They ask how high. But Victor's not satisfied with just controlling his kids anymore. He's looking at the next generation now. So Victor has a little test for Claire. Claire, his oldest granddaughter, the one who has already been through so much trauma and just wants a normal, loving family. Victor doesn't care about that. He needs to know if she loves him, adores him, and will obey his every whim above everyone else, even above Nikki. He sets up this test for her, and if she fails, she is out. He will banish her to the same exact purgatory he put Nikki in. Why does he do this? Why can't he just love his grandchildren unconditionally? Why does everything have to be a brutal test of loyalty? It is so exhausting. I am sitting here typing this, just shaking my head because it is so incredibly toxic. But that is Victor's style. He isolates you, breaks you down, forces you to prove your worth, and then demands you thank him for the privilege of being in his presence. I really hope Claire passes the test, or honestly, maybe it's better if she fails. Maybe being in purgatory with Nikki is safer than being in Victor's good grace. Claire is so fragile right now. She just got here, emotionally speaking. She has been hanging out with Holden, trying to be a supportive friend, while he deals with his own messy paternity drama with Malcolm and Stephanie, and now Victor is treating her like a pawn. It makes me so mad. Sometimes I wonder why we even watch this show when the characters make me want to throw my laptop out the window, but then Patty does something crazy, or Nikki gets a shocking diagnosis, and I am hooked all over again. It is a vicious cycle. And zooming out to the bigger pattern, this whole thing with Claire is just classic Y&R. The show loves to put the younger generation through the ringer to prove they belong in the legacy families. Noah went through it. Summer went through it. Kyle goes through it every other week with Jack. Now it is Claire's turn to face the Newman firing squad. But if Victor pushes Claire away, Victoria might actually snap. Victoria is already at her breaking point, with Nikki's health crisis. If Victor hurts Claire just to prove a point about loyalty, we might finally see Victoria go to war against her father for real. And that would be a war worth watching. But let's circle back to Nikki for a second before I wrap this up. What if this diagnosis is the thing that finally changes the dynamic forever? What if she doesn't just forgive him this time? I know I said earlier that they always reunite at the hospital, but what if Nikki realizes that the stress of dealing with Victor's loyalty tests and his constant need for control is what made her so sick in the first place? She blamed him for the migraines initially, and even though the medical diagnosis is something else, the emotional toll is real. I just want to see Nikki stand up for herself once she gets better. I want her to tell Victor that his tests and his games are destroying the family. But let's be real. She will probably just cry. He will kiss her forehead, and all will be forgiven until he does something terrible again next month. And Jack, poor, stupid Jack. I still can't get over him thinking he could fake his way through a hookup with Patty. Diane is sitting in a room with barred windows, staring at books written by Alain Laurent, probably realizing that her doctor is actually a psychopathic kidnapper in a mask, and her husband is trying to play James Bond in his living room. It is just ridiculous, honestly, so exhausting. But I will be right here tomorrow watching every single second of it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Jack will actually sleep with Patty? Do you think Claire will pass Victor's twisted test? And what do you think is actually wrong with Nikki? I need to go find some caffeine before I collapse.